dude.
Yeah, if only.
The last one was damn. I gotta take a shit. If I get up mid podcast, I'm taking a shit.
All right, give me a second before we start, because I gotta. My shit started lagging.
Mm.
Imagine lagging. Like Imagine Dragon.
Oh. Imagine Dragon dudes. He's nuts. What if they did because with Gundam, right, you could do other like mecha animes, right? Perhaps collabs. You could do Darling in the Franxx.
Oh, that would be tight. I would just want Armored Core just so I could be like, I'm fucking.
Is Attack on Titan a mecha anime technically?
It's
Yes,
it is that biological mecha bullshit back into this. Bring out the chart. Bring out the chart.
I forgot, or no, Richard absolutely hates when I bring that shit up. And I'm like, dude, they're literally mech pilots, bro. They're piloting just human, like giant versions of themselves. Flesh mechs, dude. Also, if you want to talk about flesh mechs, technically Avas are flesh mechs, all right?
Yeah.
Technically, Evangelion started it with the flesh mechs.
Mm-hmm.
Very technically.
So that mean when I'm up inside someone's guts, does that mean I'm a mecha pilot then? Because I'm piloting.
That's up. I'm recording this.
Welcome.
I'm back.
Holy shit.
Welcome back, Richard.
Welcome back, Richard.
Oh my god.
I'm back.
You missed the greatest cold open ever.
Oh, no, damn it.
Oh,
You
fuck.
probably missed
I
the
think.
greatest cold And I think that makes it so much better too.
Wait, was that actually recorded?
Yes.
Oh,
God damn, it's gonna be a long episode, fellas.
That's an episode for another.
Anyways, welcome back, everyone, to Deck Swap.
I don't even know what I missed.
Oh my god. I can't even start. Oh my god. This is so fucking good. Yeah, welcome back to Deck Swabbers, everyone. It's been a couple of weeks. I am the Real Panda, one of your hosts. Joined with me are our other beautiful, handsome men that we can't focus our locals. We got Aaron or Hikari. We got Mark or the Homo sapien pirate. We got Richard or Richie Big Wiener. Rich BW.
Oh, what the?
Big
All
wiener, big wiener.
Big winner, yeah.
Yeah, winner.
Victory,
Winner.
victory.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Okay. All right. So last time, you guys were on the verge of playing a 3v3 tournament. And now we're back, and I'm here to ask you guys, how did it go? What was your guys' placement? What was your guys' record? Right. Let's start with placement. How'd you guys end up on?
Dude, we literally got 9th. And it was top 8 prizing.
Bubbled out. Yep.
Yeah,
Bubbled
9th out of 19 teams, because I think one team didn't show up.
Oh.
Yeah. And it was a little rough too, because I think had the people we lost to round 2 gotten first, we might have gotten 8th. Might have.
Might have.
Well,
I think we would have, but
yeah.
but
But it's variance,
yeah.
if needed.
I think it's still kind of crazy because I remember seeing I think it was a tweet or a post on YouTube from Brandon or Kudo TCG, but just like, yeah, I showed up to the 3v3, but I forgot my Lucci deck, so I had to play Zoro last minute, and it was still got first. And I'm just like,
It was Brandon.
that's crazy, dude. Like,
It worked out though.
yeah,
He's a crazy good player.
yeah, he's a crazy good player, but then just like being like, I prefer this deck the entire time, but fuck, I gotta play Zoro last minute, and we still won. That's insane. He's just a good player overall, but so 9th place. If I remember correctly, you guys told me you went 3-2 as a team. And I want to I want to ask, how was the experience overall? It's a team, I guess team game, but you are playing your own individual games. Yet,
Yeah.
you know, how did that dynamic change when you guys are playing, you know, beside one another and, you know, coaching each other as well?
Can I go first on this?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, um, so for the 3v3, like I mentioned, last podcast, I was on Zero, and luckily for me, I got to high roll on my matchup, so it was very little thinking during my games. Honestly, and it was a lot of trying to just be a good like pillar for the team, and just try to give solid advice on the plays that I thought were good in each scenario, and I fell short a little bit there. I can't lie, and I do think it's because I don't play a lot of decks.
Mhm.
Like I try to build stuff and then just keep playing it, like, because like I play this game a lot, and I like to just play what I like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't always try to play
I got you.
meta, and so I think that was one of my shortcomings as a coach, for sure, was not understanding where my teammates' priorities lie with their decks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a very unique experience because I learned a lot from it, and it re-sparked my love for this game, because I realized just how much more room I have to grow. And I think being in that position of having to kind of hold it down for your teammates, it didn't have to be that way, but that's the way that we wanted to do it. It showed me a lot about how I could improve as a player overall. And yeah, I was super happy with our record. You know what I mean? Like, ninth is still good. We're in the top 50%, right? And when you look at the teams that did top 8, like, there's some killers, bro. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are people that like recognize other people, and they're like, dude, like, how did you beat those guys? Like, those guys are really you know what I mean? So like, I'm very proud of us. 3-2 is a great record. It's
Mm-hmm.
positive win rate, you know, and yeah, and I'm excited for the next one, honestly, because like,
Yeah,
I we
me too.
we made a lot of notes too on like what we think we should do for the next one. So like, I want to prove that like we got it down, kind of
Mm-hmm.
I
deal
get
for
you.
the most part. But that's my takeaway from it.
Yeah,
Uh,
it sounds like it's a lot of, because especially with the role of coach, you do have to know how your other teammates' decks play, because then how are you going to effectively coach them on, you know, what their next play should be, or how they should handle certain plays on their fields, right?
Yep.
Uh,
exactly.
like I feel like if I were to try to coach, it's like, well, what is it? I know how to play Lucci, and I know how to play some green. I'm familiar with that, but you know, yellow. What? You just hope to high roll purple. I've never played purple.
Yeah.
Blue.
Go
Exactly.
wide, remove board.
Do you have
No,
a gravity blade? Oh, you're fucked there.
no, it's definitely tough, and I think once you're at a certain point, like, maybe you don't need to like play the deck, but I just think that for me it was important to be in my teammates' headspace. You know what I mean? Because I want to give the best advice. I want to give the best advice for them as a player. You know what I mean? I don't want to give the best advice in like a generalized situation. I want to be in that man's head and be
Mhm.
like, what do you think the best play is? Here's what I think the best play is, and then either we compromise or you make your play on your own, because I
Mhm.
trust my teammates enough to be able to like make their own plays. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And if you come to me and you're asking me, hey, this is what I want to do, do you think this is right? I want to be able to say yes or no in those situations, more than
Mhm.
just like telling them what they should be doing the entire time, because like I said, it's that trust, man. It's that
Yeah.
trust. Like, I
It
know
is
these
that
two are
trust.
good fucking players, bro.
You're not
I
one v
know they
threeing
can
or
do what
three
they're
v
supposed to do.
threeing, right? Like your teammates
Exactly.
have to be able
Yeah.
to handle the other players as well. You know,
Exactly.
and then for you two, Mark and Richard, like how did it go? Like with your matches, right? Was it was the coaching helpful? Was it is it that dynamic, right, of having like a second opinion, like did it help you out? Did it make some other plays that you did not expect? Like did it open your eyes basically?
So I played in like one 3v3 before this, and it was one of the Bandai 3v3s from quite a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
This was like during I think it was like right when OPO5 came out. So it was like the one of the I think it was like the very first tournament where Sakazuki was legal and Enel was legal. Actually, yeah, it was because I remember them announcing over the microphone. They said if anybody wants to know how Enel works with triggers, this is how it works. This way we can minimize the amount of questions that get asked this weekend. And yet that question still happens all the time. but but essentially uh in a 3v3, I think I went into this one kind of like warning my teammates and just kind of letting them know we do have to be careful of how much coaching we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
because you can end up in a time constraint, because that's what happened the first time I played in a 3v3. I played with my teammates, and I basically when I went into it, my thought process was I need to have them, because at the time I was the person who had the most deck knowledge, and I was in the coach role. So I had the most deck knowledge out of all the decks that we played. I had played the deck that I handed to my friend who was playing with me. I played that deck a lot. I was piloting Sakazuki, but then I also had my other teammate to the left. Oh, what's up? Are we good? Is a ghost. I'll continue. Um, So essentially, what happens is that I told my teammates that they should ask me whenever they come to an important decision that they feel like they're not 100% sure about. But it happened too many times. It happened too many times and too often, and it would happen a lot when I was in an important moment in a game as well. So it was a lot of like, uh, I will pause my game to help you or to help you,
Mm-hmm.
and then my game goes long, especially because I'm playing a deck that gets into some grindy matches where I was playing Sakazuki, and that got pretty grindy. So it's like I think what we did with putting the deck in the middle that's like the fastest with like Zuro was like perfect plan. It was perfect plan, but I think because I gave us this mindset of be careful how much questions you ask, I think we just didn't communicate enough.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I know we did on like some like more important questions, but like Aaron said, I think we just fell a little short on like knowing each other's strategies deep enough to really give each other like proper advice per se. And to be fair, I think they even said that you could talk over each other, you just couldn't get up. So I think like we underutilized as well. Like you could technically ask the person sitting all the way to the side in case coach was not 100% sure, we could get both other players' opinions
Mm-hmm.
and then collab for a sec, because we are on a timer, but like if we need to take a second and we all need to collab real quick to come up with the perfect solution, then that's what we got to do. And I think that's okay to do. And I think we just fell a little short on kind of realizing how much freedom we have to communicate with each other. And I think for the next time we'll definitely have that down. And I think as well, like w- I've always liked playing multiple decks, and I play meta decks, I play non-meta decks. So it's like I think having multiple people on a team that have like knowledge into like multiple decks, whether or not they be meta or not meta, is like super great to have a handle on. So
Mm-hmm.
I think as long as we continue to grow as players and just play as many decks as possible in order to learn and grow with like just learning so many different strategies is just going to help a lot for future 3v3s and stuff like that. I mean, it just helps for even 1v1s just to know like every single deck that could possibly be thrown your way,
Yeah.
and like and stuff like that. It'll definitely help, and I think it'll help with our coaching experiences next time too.
That reminds me of a little like tidbit from Nats last year, where like OPO5, I just played an L, and I practice
Yeah.
against Sakazuki, practice against Pluffy, and all the other decks, and then like round 1 of Nats, I played against a Zora, and I was like, I've never played against a Zora.
You were like, oh
I'm
no.
like,
You were
what the
like,
fuck?
no.
Oh. Mark, how about you? What were your takeaways from the 3v3, right, with the whole communication and such?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that preface, because definitely that I feel individually as players we are pretty strong and able to contend with some of the top players that are even at RNS, because these people are exuberantly and amazing players. They
Demoness.
consistent demon players. Yeah, more so than what other LGSs I've attended to, because not only do we have multiple people who constantly top regionals, but these are people whose game sense and game knowledge is extensive.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, going back to communication, I really agree that there is some miscommunications, and being a first time 3v3 participant myself, it is very how do I put it? It's very new to me. And communicating, I thought, in an open dialogue or open setting that way feels almost taboo, because that's we're taught and like tutored ourselves
Yeah.
to not openly communicate, because you don't want to be able to telegraph your plays, because that's just the essence and nature
Exactly.
of card games. So to be able to combat that and change that nature of the game state does really mess with another person's mentality and psyche. But I definitely think that given the dialogue that we have with other people or like our teammates, makes it more beneficial to be able to understand a different perspective, but also room for miscommunication. As for example, for our 3v3s. But I believe that because of those miscommunications, we gain something more out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that being not only our first 3v3 experience and knowledge, but how we can better ourselves and for the next 3v3 at what we can do to combat it. Like,
Yeah.
the thing that we talked about after that I really agree that even just in general teams and people who don't communicate with each other is that learn and play your teammates' decks. Try to put yourself in the shoes that you want to give, just like Aaron said, with the best advice of you, the best advice of it's a suggestion, but not the ultimate play, because everyone
Yeah.
has a different idea of what game sense is and value is. So to really deepen your understanding of your teammates' not only playstyle, mindset, and deck, would only further to help the experience not only make it more enjoyable, because obviously you're gonna enjoy it with your friends, but you want to be able
Yeah.
to be best appropriately give them the best advice. And
Yeah.
although we may have fell short of that, I definitely appreciated the experience more than anything, because now that I know that we have the deepened knowledge of 3v3s and just how we play as both as players and think as players, I definitely think it makes me feel a lot more confident for the next 3v3 or just in general team based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And I think just some examples of the miscommunication. So, dude, it was.
So much funny.
I feel so bad because it was mostly with Mark. I feel like with Richard, I had like one round where like Richard and we were just locked in, and like the plays that I was helping him make were like definitely like helping him stay in the game. You know what I mean? And they were definitely like the correct choices in trying to like just to clarify it, so like basically Richard just needed like 9 cost Kaido to finish the game, and like everything I was telling him to do was help him
Just
like,
drop it, or dude.
oh no, because he didn't have it. The only one he saw that entire game got trashed by a Big Mom.
Yeah.
So
Big Ten
basically,
Mom did, and it went to the trash. And then I like started drawing cards with like queens and stuff, and I just couldn't find it. And I was like, I literally just need this one card to close out the game, because they don't have many cards in hand. They only have a few life left. All I need is this push where I can take them to 0 and then still swing after that. But they just had, I don't know, man. It was rough.
yeah, no.
I lost my only 9 cost Kaido, and then the turn that I just, so there was a turn before that. The turn before, I asked Aaron, should I go for game or should I defend myself? And then he said, well, let's play it this way and let's see how he reacts, and let's just set up a wider board and then like not swing really, and then like pass and see what he does. Um, I set up a board with like a couple blockers and stuff, and then like I passed turn. my opponent decided to try to go for game on me, and they pushed pretty hard, but they didn't play another big body, and the body didn't heal them. So I went, oh, okay, so this next turn I must kill them because
Mhm.
otherwise I die.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I die now because I have like no cards in hand. Uh, yellow zero drop event.
Yeah,
Oh.
there's no coaching in the world can help can help with the
Yeah,
zero drop event as your last life.
I'm a little bit
yeah.
curious, right? Because we talked about like the whole communication aspect of 3v3. How did you
Mhm.
did you like notice the other teams and how much they communicated with one another? Were they
It was
making
So
their plays like very
so
telegraphed?
so I definitely they kind of told us from the beginning like no whispering or anything like that, and that's like the
Mm-hmm.
same rules for Bandai as well. You're not allowed to whisper, and then I think they're like there was something else specific, but it's like definitely like no whispering. Like you can be vague. You
Mm-hmm.
can be vague for sure. Like you can literally just say, I think you should do this or I think you should do that. You don't have to say the names of the cards or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think yeah, I definitely noticed from some of our opponents that like people would either finish their games or something, and then the other player would start looking over the other player's shoulder, and they'd just be like, oh well, I think I'm gonna make this play, and then the guy would be like, the other guy next to him would just be like, I don't know. I was like, maybe you shouldn't do that, blah blah blah. But then I saw some people arguing with each other, and I was like, and, and I was like, that's rough because like but I get it because like we were I think at the point where I saw people arguing, I didn't see anybody arguing when they were at like higher tables or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think we were already like I think we were already like 4 rounds in or something, and I think at the time like our record was like kind of whatever, and I think we're like 2-2 or something, and I don't know,
Yeah,
but
very interesting at that point.
yeah, and I just remember I just remember I think we were already X2, and basically like I think those opponents I think that was the game where we sweeped them or something. But basically like one of the players was like, "Oh, I think I'm going to make this play." And then his teammate was like, "Oh, I think this might be better. You might want to do this." And then he was just like, "You know what? No, I'm just going to make the play I want to make because." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." I was just like, "That's not proper."
Our
I was
last
just like,
round?
"That's not proper communication."
Our last
I think it
one?
was like the second to last one, or maybe
Oh,
before that or
yeah.
something. But he was like, It's like ask. It's like was asking, but then like
Did he
didn't
just want
actually take the.
confirmation?
But then like didn't take the advice. Like kind of wanted like confirmation on, hey, that plays good. But like I don't know. It
Wanted
was a little weird.
validation, not actual
Yeah,
advice.
yeah. He wanted the validation, not actual advice. I don't know. It was super weird. But I don't know with that, but definitely I noticed a lot of people at like the higher tables, they were definitely communicating with each other and like kind of like stopping themselves. I think that's a big thing that I need to take out of 3v3s as well. I need to learn how to stop myself. I need to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to like if I think something important is going to happen, I need to learn how to like pause for a second, look over at my teammates' board, see if they're doing something important, and then if they're not, ask tap their shoulder, do whatever, ask them really quick. And if I think it's an important decision, just kind of go through them really, really
Yeah.
quickly, but just like get a yes or a no. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I just needed to do that more because like I think one of the prime examples of one of the biggest mistakes that I made in the tournament that day, and I know Aaron argues
Dude,
against it. I,
it was a 50-50, bro.
I know it's a 50-50.
You
I mean, it's not even about it being a 50-50. It's just that the point being is that the action that I was gonna make was gonna get made regardless that turn. So why not make it at the start of the turn? Is just the question. You know what I mean? It's like I'm gonna do it anyways. Why not do it at the start? But I didn't slow myself down. My so it was I was playing against Calgara and I was playing against
Mm-hmm.
Dom, the team that got second place.
Oh.
Okay.
The team
Wait,
that
can we
got
just
second
talk
place.
about that team really quick? Okay,
They're cracked.
Brandon and Eric, both multiple regional toppers, and we had to play against both of them. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
that's disgusting. Round two? I was
That's
like,
Yeah.
dude,
insane,
I'm
dude.
sorry, I'm not a good enough coach for this. For
Dad was their coach, and he was scary, man. It was scary.
Oh,
Yeah, Brandon
Um,
about to being the coach.
yeah, but I had to play against Dom, and I had played this matchup before because we played one time. We played one time at the locals, and it feels pretty 50-50 because the decks are very similar. I was playing Purple Luffy and he was playing Calgara.
Mm-hmm.
The turn before I hit 7 Dawn,
Mm-hmm.
he played, I think he just swung for 5, and then he played Ohm Holy.
You walk the
He
dog.
played Ohm Holy. He walked the dog. And then he passed to me. I go to 6 Dawn. I already had a Kaido in hand and a Big Mom. I know I need to hit 9 Dawn next turn, so I should just ramp now because I should get the extra card in my hand. To that way I can counter out if he starts swinging like decent numbers. But and then I didn't have a poly. I really wanted a poly, but I decided, you know what? I think I'm gonna put a blocker up since I don't have poly. And I played the queen, and I drew some cards, and then I drew some cards, and I discarded something,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went, oh well, I want to swing a decent number, and I was gonna ramp anyways this turn, so I'll ramp now, and then I ramped, and it was the poly, and I was like, and I told myself afterwards, I was like, told myself from the beginning of that turn that I was gonna ramp regardless. Why did I not just do it at the beginning of the turn? Like, if I knew I was gonna do it, why not just start the turn with that game action?
Mm-hmm.
It would have just been smarter that way to start the turn with that action because knowing that I need poly, I understand that it's not guaranteed that it could be in my life, but that's kind of how Purple Luffy is.
Yeah.
You just go, let's see if the answer is in my life, and if it's not, we pivot.
Mm-hmm.
You pivot after you make the action, not before. But I pivoted before I made the action, which kind of threw me for a loop, unfortunately. I ended
Yeah,
up
and
losing that game afterwards. Yeah, I definitely think that misplay cost me the game because I spoke with Dom afterwards. We kind of chit chatted, and I told him what happened, and he went, "Oh, that's really unfortunate." He's like, "I think if you would have played that poly, you probably would have won the game because it would have gone poly, blow up Ohm. Next turn, he was going to use his leader ability to like cheat in like a character
Calgar.
and then do something else. He actually didn't have the Calgara Mont Black Nolan. He cheated in like a 5-drop wiper or something and then
Uh-huh.
played something else. Um, so he was like, man, that would have been really unfortunate because, you would have popped my ohm. I would have swung with my holy for sure because I need to start pressuring your life. I would have cheated in the 5-drop wiper and then I would have played like another 5-drop or something. And then I would have passed to you and then you would have played Kaido and you would have cleared my holy, leaving me with one character in play. And you were at 10 Dawn that turn, putting you at, putting you back to 7 Dawn on the next turn. He's like, that's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
The whole tide
I
sort of
definite.
changed.
It's like, do I regret making that one play? Yeah, but like I will learn from that for later. For like, if I'm gonna ramp, just do it anyways. But I definitely think in that moment when I realized I didn't have the poly in my hand and I saw the rest of my hand, I should have just chilled for a second before making a play, stopped myself, looked over at Aaron and said, "Hey, Aaron, I want this card. I do not have it. I still have not ramped yet this turn. I plan on doing it anyways. Should I just do it now?"
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that would have just like fixed all the problems. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
That's just
I,
like.
I
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just feel like it's just a hindsight 2020 kind of thing, man. And
Yeah.
also like I didn't want us to tilt round two, you know what
Oh
I
no,
mean?
I get it. No,
So
I
like
get it.
I really
Did
didn't
you
want you to
guys did you
take
guys
full
get
game in your
swept
back.
that round, or was it just
Oh, nah, dude, I high rolled dad, dude. I
Oh,
high rolled
actually,
against
yeah.
So
I
so
high
we
rolled him and I was like double shut up and come with us, double chopper, double kid killer. And I stole that game. I swept that old man from underneath his
Yeah.
legs.
So it just reminds me, like, with
And
the whole thing of like doing these micro decisions that can actually like, matter for like a whole game. Like playing Lucci,
yeah.
it's like, oh, do I swing with lead first and mill 2, or do I do this like search first, etc.?
Yeah.
And it's
What
like
do you need?
I've had to teach myself. It's like if I ever have the chance to draw just 2 cards and then trash 2 later on, like with Khalifa or Sabo, or just do Tempest Kick first. Do that first and then do the mills, because then you can get a card that you can't get off of a search, right?
Yeah.
It's just like those little things, right, that you have to remind yourself. Actually, which perfect segue, by the way, because yeah, Aaron mentioned it a lot because he played Zoro for this 3v3. The Zoro is a very fundamental heavy deck, and it made me wonder, what are fundamentals when playing One Piece, right? Like, what is it that you need to keep in mind when playing any deck, or like what are the basics that you need to know as a player to basically play One Piece well, no matter what deck that you pick, right? Like, what are you guys' thoughts on that? I guess we can ask the person who plays Zoro actually first. Aaron.
So a lot of I feel like it's partially dependent on color, right? Because some colors are better at keeping hand advantage, some colors are better at keeping board advantage, and some are leaders or colors are better at like maintaining dawn and different other kinds of resources. But in general, I think a lot of the things that you want to look out for as a player, right, is you want to understand kind of like what your deck strategy is first, right? If you're a deck that goes wide and you don't go tall, right, then your strategy should be that your opponent has to have the least amount of cards in hand in order for you to like finish the game, essentially, right? Because if you start swinging big numbers and you make them take a life early and they have 11 cards in hand, you're probably not going to kill them with 5s, dude.
Yeah.
Right? So you go wide early and then you go taller later, right? And that's kind of like fundamental with those kinds of decks, right? And if you're a deck that goes tall and later into the game plays a lot of late game, you probably want to counter early, or just make sure that you have like the right pieces. Just a lot of stuff like that I think falls under fundamentals, which is like, for me, I would say understanding what you're trying to accomplish with your deck, kind of like how Richard was talking about how his deck always wants to make the best amount of play, or the best play that like will net him like dawn and board, right? Like in that scenario, that's what he wanted, right? So you always ramp first before you make your action and stuff like that. But that's what I value as a player a lot, is just, what does my deck want to do and how well am I accomplishing that goal? As a player, or maybe I bricked, right? That way you can distinguish it too and be like, did I play poorly, or did my deck not function properly? And then that way you can actually go back to the drawing board and be like, oh, maybe I cut down on this, maybe I cut down on that, stuff like that. I think that's very important.
I lightly touched on this actually today during locals with Mark, because it's like, oh, how do you play green, right? Like, what is green's game plan, right? Just like slap down a couple bodies on board and make sure that they don't get removed, and then just keep controlling them. And it's just like, it's a little bit odd. Right. Well,
it's a mixed bag.
Yeah, because I used to be a green player, right? I played green mono green kid, and then Uta as well, and just like seeing how that deck works, it's a little bit, or how that color pie works in general, is just like, oh, I mean, some of the effects are strong and some of the effects work, but then it's like when it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. When your shit gets removed, it's like, oh, what do you do? Like, slap your ass and hope for better luck the next game.
Pretty much, yeah. Sometimes that's how green rolls.
Because like Mark and I played each other during locals today, and it's just like,
oh, yeah, you spread me wide.
Yeah, like just removed his whole board the entire time. It's like, well, what is your color? What is your deck going to do now?
I kind of just sat there and spread my legs and get a colonoscopy. That's how it is.
Yeah, like
that's how that matchup is.
Like Mark, I feel like your favorite color is probably purple, right? Of all the colors to play, like purple, black. Purple. Yeah, so it's like the general game plan for purple is like, oh, being able to ramp quickly, being able to play those big bodies out, playing tall, and playing efficiently to make sure you are able to be healthy and play those big bodies out. And it's like, what are the decisions, right, as a player? Like, say, like, stuff you have to remember when playing these decks. It's like the nitty gritty stuff. Like, oh, how much Dawn do you attach to your characters to swing? Like, hey, like how do you go for game? How do you interact throughout the mid game in order to finally do a push in the end game, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like it's a very interesting observation, like how these decks work and how they're able to like achieve that win state, the win con. Like for me, for Lucci, right, the way to like my fundamentals with Lucci is like, am I removing their board while also building bodies and going wide in a sense, and then at the end game going tall? Like, am I really doing anything in the first few turns? Should I be milling first, or should I be drawing first? Should I be using this card first rather than that card first? Should I, all these different decisions that you got to do and stuff that can really affect your, it's the difference between milling a Moria into a grave and also drawing the Moria off a Tempest kick, right? It's like,
yeah,
what are the differences? The little micromanagement decisions that can really determine a game, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of those micro decisions actually are centered around battle more often than not, right? And by proxy, hand advantage, right? So if you have like 8 cards in hand, but only 3 of them are counter, and your opponent swings into your 5k body for 7, are you gonna? And they have 2 more swings left. Are you gonna give up 2 cards when they can swing into it 2 more times, right? And you might, right? You might just to bluff the counter, or bait your opponent into swinging into life instead. So there's a lot, there's a lot of micro decisions, but I do think that a lot of them are centered around battle, because it's the only like true common ground between all the colors, right? Every single color has a bunch of different strategies, and they're all very versatile except for black. Black has Gecko Moria, and that's about it. All right, I'll stop. But in general, right, like battle is the common ground, and if your opponent has a lot of cards in hand, maybe you don't want to give them more by swinging to their life. You want to go into their board, or maybe they don't have a lot of cards in hand, and you're like, well, I want to clear that body anyways, so you swing a good number into it, like 7.
Yeah.
Like always do evens into evens, odds into odds.
Odds into odds.
Right. And then how much higher, I think, comes later. Like, I think you start there because a lot of people will think, oh, I swing 6 into 5 because I get a 2k out of hand, and that's like the highest value. And it's like, well, maybe, but also maybe just swing 7 if you want it to die,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, if you really want it gone, just swing 7. Don't even bother with the 6.
It's like,
but if you want cards out of hand, go ahead.
It's I guess a small delight, a little, the je ne sais quoi, right? When you're playing against someone, you swing into their body for 7, they give you 2 cards and you have 3 cards in hand, and I'm like, all right, this is gonna matter for the late game, baby.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Totally. So I think that's one of the bigger micro decisions, right? Is how much counter do you give up for your board? And I think against black, you give up everything. You give up all the count. If they swing into your board, you give up everything, because you're like, you better have the removal. Otherwise, my board is here to stay. You know what I mean? That's my philosophy. But I'm also a Zoro player.
Forcing black to have the removal is just correct.
I'm also a Zoro player, and I'm probably going to develop 2 more bodies next turn anyway. So like,
yeah. What about when taking life, right? Like, should you be defending your life as much as one might think? Because the way that I've sort of like shifted my view on the life counter, the life pile, right, is that if I will, as a Lucha player, I will take the first 3 life regardless. Like, once I get down to 2, then I'll start countering out.
That's right.
Because then it's like, I'll get all the tools that I need for my toolbox, and then after that, it's like, they're gonna stop swinging at my life. They're gonna start swinging at my characters, because I have more characters on board now.
All the tools.
And I can defend them with all the cards that I got. Yeah. So it's just what are you guys' thoughts on life, right? Should you be defending it early? Should you be taking it early? I guess it depends on the matchup, right? Because if you're playing Calgar, then you want the life, right? But then
Calgar or Purple Luffy, they both want to keep their life because they need it as a resource. it is their resource, so they need to keep it. But I guess like for like general decks that like for the most part, I guess like if you're trying to generalize like leaders that don't particularly have to use their life as a resource. I mean, regardless, your life is a resource because it's a card you're going to get to hand unless your opponent like swings at you with banish or something. But I think for the most part in One Piece, I think like life is such an interesting thing because it differs so much from deck to deck. But for the most part, I think my thought process when it comes to life, depending on the deck that I'm playing, is super like if my opponent is kind of like playing in the early game, depending on like I always have to worry about like cards too, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
like if you're playing against purple, you have to worry about like 4-drop law or something. Like you take the first life and they're like start rubbing their hands together and you're like, uh-oh. You're like, uh-oh, I'm about to get 4-drop law. Um it's definitely something that like man, it's tough because like it's tough to like generalize life because um it's so matchup dependent and leader dependent that like at that point it becomes a game of like card knowledge almost,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that's like the biggest thing with One Piece, man. I think that's like one of the, if not the biggest things in this card game is game knowledge. Just knowing things about your opponent's deck, knowing what cards exist in the card game
Mm-hmm.
will help you monumentally. Like just knowing cards that exist and what potentially could come down on specific turns will help you play the game in such a different way that like planning ahead of time for what your opponent could do is probably like one of the biggest things you could do.
Yeah.
And putting yourself in a position where the cards you play, you go, I don't care what my opponent does. This play that I made was the right play. And even
Yeah.
if they do X, my thing still was impactful. And I
Yeah.
think that's like the biggest thing to do in One Piece is just like play in a way where no matter what play your opponent makes, what you did impacted the game in a positive way for you, whether or not it made them waste resources out of their hand. And I don't mean like they like ice aged you and then killed you with the brook on board. That
Mm-hmm.
shit sucks. I mean like you took multiple cards out of their hand because they wasted multiple cards to remove it, or you know they wasted a lot of dawn trying to remove your characters on board or something and you still were able to pitch cards out of hand to keep them, you know, whether or not you pressured life with a certain play that you made and you know that you put them at such a low life that they can no longer make the play that was coming up on that dawn turn without
Mm-hmm.
potentially the game. It's just a lot of like the fundamentals in this game require so much game knowledge that it's almost not even like yes, other card game knowledge can carry you in One Piece because the game is so easy to learn,
Mm-hmm.
but if you don't know anything about the cards, I there's nothing you can do about
The
that.
It's like
cards.
I'm
that
going to tell you right
feeling.
now, I'm going to tell you right now, that's the biggest thing in this format right now because so many people are coming into this game, you know, picking up one deck and then they
Mm-hmm.
start playing that one deck and they're only knowing about the top meta decks or whatever, and then they show up to locals and they play against someone and they're like, this guy's playing Foxy? I don't know what this does.
Carrot! Ah! Who's
And then
that
they lose,
dog?
and then they lose, right? Because they've never seen what these cards do. They have no knowledge based off of any of this stuff, and it's that's how you lose games, man.
Yeah.
Not having knowledge of
Mm-hmm.
your what your opponent is doing.
Yeah.
You definitely I've definitely lost my fair share of games to not knowing what a deck is doing, but for the most part, I try to keep myself up to date with like every deck, and I have
They call them
playtesting part.
grandmasters,
I
Yeah.
have I have plenty of playtesting partners who play a variety of decks. I have plenty of people in my circle who play off meta. Plenty of people in my circle who play meta. You know, it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things where having a good circle of people around you who play a variety of decks and not just focus on the top three will
Mm-hmm.
help you monumentally in this game. And I think that's a huge thing for people. And I think if there's any advice I can give to a new player is spread your horizons, learn lots of different decks, read up on different cards, have people around you who are not afraid to experiment with different leaders, and it'll definitely help you go a long way, I think. Like, there's always fundamentals with Dawn management, but that's any game, you know, whether or not you play like whatever, like Magic the Gathering, fucking Yu-Gi-Oh, anything, Pokemon. Resource management in any game is super essential too. Knowing when to use your resources at the right time is also like super essential. I've seen new players also with like their Dawn and stuff. They play a card and then they go, shoot, I miscounted my Dawn. I needed this much. I needed that extra push on like 2 Dawn on my leader, or I needed a Dawn on this guy, and now I don't have it because I just played this card.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to keep talking, but if anyone wants to touch on mulliganing, that's huge.
Ooh.
I think that's a big one we should touch
Just
on.
like the gamble, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no!
I
He's
just
a
wanna-
gambler.
Here's
I
my
just wanna
input about
touch on-
mulliganing. I just like the gamble. I love the feeling of, oh, this could be a better hand.
Bro said he has like, he said 4 cards are good, and he goes, nah, that
What
fifth
if
one
it's
could be
5?
better. Put it back.
80%'s not good enough. But I just want to go back to like touching on life.
Oh yeah,
So
go
it
ahead.
just depends, right? So I saw you. You sicko. Anyway, I saw that, you disgusting No, but against decks that are going like wide, you know, like against Zoro, right? I like take depending if you're 4 life or 5. Dude, 4 life leader, you're dead, bro.
Yeah, you're dead.
You're not winning that game. But 5 life leader, you probably take like the first 2, even if they're 5s, right? Because
Yeah.
you know that like realistically their biggest swing is going to be like a 10k swing, right? So you know you have enough cards in hand, you can counter out of 5s into a 10, right? You manage your life properly, you manage your hand size properly, you can counter out of like 3 5s and like a 10, right? But against decks that go tall, this is my philosophy, right? Do I want to counter a 5 now, or do I want to counter a 10k later or 9k
yeah.
later? Right? That's my
Yeah.
philosophy.
No, that's super fair.
Or you know, so I try against decks that I know want to play the long game. I try to counter it like every once in a while, like early, and just try to make sure I don't go down too much in hand size, but just enough so where it's like, all right, if they drop this, I don't instantly die on the crackback, right?
Yeah.
Like especially against Bonnie, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna counter like the first 2 hits, bro, because I swear if they Hody Jones me into 7k with Basil, into 8k with Hody, into 8k with Leader, into 10k with Dofi, I'm gonna lose it. So like I try to stay like pretty healthy. Like I really try to do that. Against yeah, just that's my philosophy. Do I take a 5 now, or do I take a 10k later? And it's like I'll take the 10k later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely fallen trapped to like, oh crap, like I took a 5, but then they swing 7. It's like, shit, I should have countered out initially.
Yeah, because now
Or
you
like-
gotta counter out of a 7, right?
What is it like games that I've lost because they swung lower while I had to counter out, but I still took it just to gamble, right?
Oh no.
Yeah.
You were looking for that 5th good card, dude. It's okay.
Off life.
It's all good, bro. It's all good.
Yeah, gosh, I feel like we can go on and on about fundamentals and like all these different
dude.
little things about what
yeah.
makes One Piece great, honestly. But
Comment down below how shitty you think our takes are.
yeah,
Don't ban Gecko Morio. It's a balanced and fair card.
Oh,
Limited
Shitty.
to
I don't know about that one.
all the best decks have to hard draw it anyways. Thoughts?
It's uncomfortable if you're not playing.
give this sort of thing to a black deck and it'll turn meta.
Oh man.
All right. Speaking of meta, though, yeah, it's a Gecko meta. I don't know if it's diverse, but that's just because our locals are diverse and we don't really have,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
We like having fun.
we like having fun. I like having fun but playing Lucci, but yeah, you know, it's I said it was diverse, and I still think it's like every deck has a lot of decks have equal opportunity to like win. right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you know, it does just get difficult when it's like back-to-back Gecko Morias, and yeah, it does get a little bit stale.
You know,
And
500 Gekomorias.
500 Gecko Morias, yeah. And I think I'll get to
Yeah.
this, but it's like I feel like Gecko Moria, that card. Like, I wonder, is it actually going to get banned, or is it going to get limited? I feel like I was first leaning on the camp that it was going to get banned, but now I feel like it's just going to get limited.
I think limited is totally fine.
Like,
think
limited to
limited's
2,
fair, yeah.
I'd say. Because
two?
the reason why is because... well, Gecko, yes, it lets you build 3 bodies. And against Daffy, that can spit out 3 bodies in 1 turn, right? It's like the one way to keep up with Daffy. I feel like any other way to try and keep up with Daffy is like what? You can play 8-drop Sabo, or you can play, you know, you can have a Isho with a Dawn attached and have a couple Brooks to deal with it, or you can have Kuzan on field to do that, right? But it's like, I feel like Gecko Moria is like that one card that really does just let you, you know,
It does
keep
everything.
up.
It does it all.
does everything, and it keeps up the tempo
does it all.
against Daffy, right? And in the
Yeah.
meta that's coming up with OP09, where Daffy is one of the top decks, along with Lucci, and the only reason why is because Lucci is able to keep Daffy in check. And obviously, because there's Lucci, there's BY Luffy as well, but BY Luffy gets checked by Daffy, so it's just like, yeah, Pluffy as well. Pluffy is very good as well. But, you know, my opinion on it is that if they're gonna... I feel like they're gonna do the same thing as the most recent ban list, where they banned a leader, but then they also banned Stage for Lucci. I feel they're gonna be limiting Gecko, but they're also gonna be hitting something from Daffy.
I would believe it.
Like, they're gonna hit something for sure, because they can't just leave Daffy's power unchecked like that, or try to hurt it in any way, while hurting Lucci. Ooh, wait. Will that kill the deck, actually? No, it wouldn't.
Nah.
It would slow it down
debatable.
considerably.
It would slow the deck down considerably.
Because you're not going to be
not
spitting
having 4
out
Jinbei.
3 bodies. You'd be spitting out only 2 bodies maximum each turn.
Yeah.
But it's like...
To be fair, though, the deck has a lot of top deck manipulation. Players will dig to find those Jinbeis. I promise you.
Best believe I will, dude.
Oh, yeah.
You think I don't want to Jinbei weevil your ass into oblivion? You got another thing
That actually
coming,
makes
buddy.
a lot of sense that they would limit or ban Jinbei. I feel like that would be...
I feel like
very similar.
I feel like it
cards,
doesn't
right?
need to be banned, but I think if they like limited it to like 1 or 2, even then,
What if they do actually? They limit Jinbei to 2, limit Gecko to 2. Right?
I think if they did that, it'd be reasonable. And I think Daffy players would probably have an easier time though, because Jinbei is searchable.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, you'd stick to running like Force and Goku and stuff like that, and then Piranha. But then also
I feel
like you can add it back from your trash
Yeah.
really easily in that deck. So it's like I think them with 2 Jinbei, they'd be fine, dude.
They'd be fine.
They
It's
just throw in like
stage ban.
they just throw in like another 2 cards. That deck has like all the card draw. It has the manipulation of the top deck. You can put cards to the bottom if you don't want to see them anymore. It's a strong deck, and I think even if they limited Jinbei to 2, it would like put a slight dent in the power of the deck.
Yeah.
I think it would throw like a slight wrench in its consistency, but I think it'd still be an extremely consistent deck.
What if it's like, okay, limit Jinbei, ban 4-drop Gecko.
Whoa, that'd be insane. That's
crazy,
too much.
dude.
I think that's too much.
Yeah.
Then the deck is arguably like
Bad.
bad.
Because then you have yes, you can tutor, and yes, you have all these still good targets for blue, but it's also like you do something that has that immediately auto loses to any form of removal, i.e. blast.
Yeah.
Because you have no way to
Yes.
recur your 2Ks, no way to be able to have a recovery play or a defense, and you're exclusively playing it as if it is Blue Zoro.
I guess it would be...
Deck's
Yeah.
intention.
Because I'm thinking, like, if they were to limit Gecko from Lucci, like, what am I doing as a Lucci player, right? Move on to a different deck? No, I'd probably think, like, oh, I can play Sabos, I can play Rush Lucci. I can... probably
Play Hogback,
Sabos.
add back
Play
to
Hogback,
that.
yeah.
Got back the Moria you milled.
Exactly.
That's true.
2 copies of Hog.
So
Yeah.
so I want to touch on this, right? I
Mhm.
was talking about this at locals and on Twitter a little bit about how like Black's introduction into One Piece was that it was a removal centric color, right?
Hmm.
And you know, so because of that, people thought that because of its original printing, everything is like super is like overtuned to like overbalanced, right?
Hmm.
You know, like in order to like KO something with Sakazuki, you have to trash a card from your hand. And in order to KO something with Garp, you have to like pay 5 Don the turn you play him, rest him, and trash a card from your hand to KO 4 cost, right?
Hmm.
A lot of overtuning, and I truly believe it's because that after a certain point, you're not really playing the game if all you're doing is just killing your opponent's board, right? You're
Yeah.
just, oh, you played a guy, get rid of it. And if you did that over and over and over again to the point where your opponent has nothing, then you pretty much auto win at that point, right? You're swinging like 5s and 6s while they have no cards in hand because they're just trying to establish board in order to like make push like good pushes for game
Hmm.
and so on and so forth. And then but it didn't really have another strategy, and that's where it was really lacking, is the fact that you're losing a lot of cards in hand in order to trade board with your opponent, you know, especially if you're getting rid of big bodies. And that's why the deck fell off, or the color fell off for a while, right? You saw the rise of the red meta and Kata and somewhat Rebecca, right? For all the Whitebeard players out there, they were kind of checking them, but then the Kata players were like, "Nah,
Mm.
we think we'll take the 60-40 matchup into Whitebeard instead of Rebecca, right?" So and then that happened, and then Gecko Moria got printed, and we finally got another strategy for Black, right? It
Hmm.
wasn't just removal
Oh, yeah.
anymore. We got to
The
play cards from
graveyard,
trash,
which I feel
right?
like
And that was the leader, right? That was
OPO
just the leader.
6, established a whole different aspect of the color
Entire
identity of Black, right?
It
Because
did,
Black
yeah.
was removable by discarding and such, but then OPO 6 made like it's you play stuff from your trash.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get really technical, technically we have the Dressrosa cards, right, where the removal is being able to attack into characters the turn you play them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Oh,
that's
yeah.
specifically that's not really for Black. It's for the Dressrosa leaders. Right?
Yeah. It's
Um,
hyper specific to that.
Yeah.
but yeah, and so we have Gecko Leader, which is playing stuff from trash, and then you have 8 cost Gecko Moria, and like, and it overtuned Black back the other way, where it's like you're removing your opponent's board, establishing your own board, and replenishing your hand at the exact same time. Like, not at first, right? Because like we didn't have like Rebecca Spandine Helmeppo off of Gecko, right?
Yeah.
But you did still get to play 3 bodies and either value Moria and get cards back in your hand, or removal Moria, which was insanely strong. It was so strong that they were like, well, we can't touch it yet because we're dropping OPO7 Lucci. So Sakazuki gets banned.
Yeah.
Ban Sakazuki. Get rid of it. So I definitely think that that's like the biggest thing, is that like Black didn't have another strategy in mind for Black. I mean, look at Blue. Blue is a heavily removal focused color,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it still has other like tools, right? You go wide with Jinbei, Weevil, draw a card. You have you can go tall with your removal and actually establish bodies instead of playing like removal spells like Gravity Blade and Red Rock, right? Or you can do both. So like Blue always had access to like other stuff from the beginning, but Black was just like, so you have to actually use 3 cards to get rid of 1. Sorry. You actually have to go -2 in order to take board back. Sorry. And then all of a sudden it's actually you can go +3 on board and +1 in hand to remove
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it's like
all of your opponent's board.
Ice Age 6-drop Sokka and then fucking discard a card off Sokka ability. Like that's -3 cards just to
3 cards.
Yeah.
remove one. And then there was also like OPO3 Rob Lucci, where it was like, oh, you get Kid ability, but only when you KO something. You discard 2 cards from hand to restand Lucci.
Yeah, seriously.
Okay,
Imagine that.
I think that leader's fair. It was fair as hell at the time. I think if it was on demand, I'm going to restand my leader because a character was KO'd this turn at any point would be kind of crazy.
It'd be too good.
It'd be kind of crazy. But yeah, like I think that leader's fair. But it is a steep cost, right? There are so many times where I'm like, oh, they only have one blocker and no life. I can go for game, and then I'm like, I only have one card in hand. Fuck. Shit.
Oh no! Yeah, I've fallen.
You know how many times people have purposely not put me to 0 life because they're like, oh wait, he'll have 2 cards in hand. I only got 1 blocker. I mean, nuts. Like, damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, like
So,
you know, I have high hopes. You know, going back to the whole meta discussion, right? I have high hopes for OP 8.5 because it's like,
me too.
yeah, it'll be different. It's gonna be Doffy, a lot of Doffy for sure. But you know, I was like considering like, what am I playing for just November 2nd regional, right? Because I was thinking like, I was a little bit down with the dumps with Lucci for a bit because I didn't understand how to play the deck in OP08. I was like, oh, like, it's not really clicking with me this time around. Like, these changes aren't really doing me justice, or I'm not enjoying the deck as much as I did in OP07. But now that I, you know, added some inclusions in there now, basically stage on a stick with Uta, and that card slaps, dude. And then as well as the fact that it's like, oh, like this actually it's basically like I said, stage on a stick, and I can now include other stuff that I had in my OP07 strategy back into the deck, and it's just like, it's fun for me now. And I feel like it's going to be able to handle Doffy well into 8.5. To the point that it's like, well, I feel I can genuinely take Lucci to regionals this time now. And not have to be playing, or, you know, basically learning Doffy within a week. Because that's,
yeah.
the structure decks come out on the 25th, right?
Yes.
So it's like, oh, yeah, barely get the cards. If you can get the cards, because obviously people are going to be wanting, especially the Doffy structure deck. So it's like,
yeah.
if you can get your hands on it and practice early, it's like, ooh, right? And you know there's going to be vendors at the regional who want to, like, are going to be selling at a premium for those who are like, ooh, hey, you looking for this?
I heard you look at this.
I heard you submitted the deck list. I heard you submitted the deck list without having the cards.
What do you want? I heard you want starter deck.
Hey, you want a starter deck?
I've got all the blue stuff you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely excited for OP 8.5, I guess, and OP 9.
Yeah, OP 9 is going to be fun too. I think, you know, OP09 is going to be fun. OP10? Oh, OP10. OP10, though. Hey, new leaks came out. 4 leaders. I should pull them up on my Discord here, just so I can know.
Just waiting on these last 2 leaders.
Oh, it's just Sugar, Usopp, Caesar Clown, and Shigi/Smoker.
Oh, I'm telling you, I am playing Smoker.
Let's see.
Dude, I found, or I didn't find it. Someone posted like a video of like a Smoker match versus Doffy, and I was like, dude, this Smoker is literally just bullying Doffy. And then I looked at the list and I was like, okay, literally no new cards because they haven't been revealed yet. And then only red card in the deck, Rad Beam. And I was like, goated deck, dude. Fucking sick ass deck.
You know,
dude.
I feel like what is it? It looks like what's the colors for that set are gonna be like red Punk Hazard, maybe green Navy, right?
Oh yeah, because G,
yeah, and then purple Don Quixote Pirates, blue Dressrosa,
and black Dressrosa again for some reason.
Oh yeah, some black Dressrosa as well.
Yeah,
some black Dressrosa,
support Dressrosa, black and.
I think it's like black Straw Hats, and then black Straw Hat Dressrosa, and then blue Dressrosa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
what does yellow get? I don't know.
Supernovas.
Oh yeah, it's yellow Supernovas.
Right, they revealed
the Bonnie reveal.
Bonnie.
Yeah.
But isn't that a promo card? Is that really indicative of
It could also just
could
be
be
too, possibly.
Because it's like
but
there is.
But it wasn't an egghead card though.
There already is a Supernova card that's or leader that's Black Yellow Luffy apparently.
Yeah.
But it's
and
like
it's a 5-drop.
It's a 5-drop too, so it might just be a Black Yellow Luffy card.
Yeah.
That your Rouge, that Photoshop your Rouge that was
Oh,
going
Oh.
that shit was debated so many
Literally.
people.
Bro, so
Dude.
many people fell for that.
I was one of them. I literally went
Oh
into the art
no.
reveals of our Discord, of the SoCal Discord, and I was like, "Where is it? What does it do?" And I'm like, "Oh."
If you look, you can still see Luffy's fist coming out of his right leg.
Terrible, bro.
Yeah. I by the way, I bought my fucking green Don Quixote cards, AAs, because I'm like getting ready. It's like, green purple Doffy gonna be coming back soon. I hope.
Dude, hell yeah,
Well,
man.
sugar is in purple, so we'll see what
Sugar
we'll
is
see
red
what
purple. Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see what purple Don Quixote cards they add in this set. I mean, they've already shown some with like
Senor
the
Pink
events.
and I can never forget. I can never forget anyone who laughs at my family.
Yeah, imagine saying that to your opponent. I will never forgive anyone who laughs at my family.
So yeah, due to the effects of I can never forget anyone who laughs at my family, I'm gonna add this event because, like I said, because of I can never forget anyone who laughs at my family.
Yeah, and I think I'll actually add weaklings can't choose how they.
And you know what?
Oh my god.
This
bro.
reminds me of my favorite card. It's a waste of human life.
No,
Nah, man.
dude, I've just been waiting for Don Quixote Pirates to get ramp cards, and I'm like, finally, dude, red, purple, sugar. It has to be like, because
Well,
they're
the leader
basically.
ramps, which is really nice.
Right, let's see. So
No, but
sugar.
for GP, though.
End of your
For-
turn, if you have a character with the Don Quixote Pirates set with the power of 6k or power or more, set up to one of your Dawn is active.
Easy.
And then opponent's turn, once per turn, when you activate an event, set up to one of your Dawn from your Dawn deck as active. So you can ramp.
Dude,
Ooh,
this
you can get a
deck
double search. That's pretty good.
this
actually.
deck is going to be really nice going second, I think, because you'll
Oh.
have the event. It's like, hey man, it's the Zero logic. I got this one drop event in my hand. I dare you to swing at me.
Actually, yeah,
I dare you to swing at me.
that search card that I can never forgive anyone who laughs at my family. It's a main and counter card, so you can
Yeah.
use it on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is like you go second, you have that card in your hand, you pass with it, and then you go, all right, they swung at me, and then I play this, I ramp one active, you go to your next turn, you're on your 5 Dawn turn now because you ramped one,
Mm-hmm.
and then you probably play a character that has 6,000 power or more. If I would doubt that whatever 5 drop or 4 drop you play uh does not have a 6,000 power or
Yeah.
more. You know what I mean?
They showed Senor Pink, which is a 5 cost 6k.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's perfect. You go second, you play that event, you place in your pink on your 5 Dawn turn, and then you pass, you untap another Dawn, you're holding up another 1 drop event.
Yeah.
That deck is going to be full of 1 drop events that are counters.
But
for
I
sure.
was just saying that like they need to give like Don Quixote Pirates a purple ramp card for GP because I swear the only point of green purple Doffy is I'm gonna chain 10 drop back to back to back to back on you, boy. You better be ready for that. So like
10 drop, 10 drop, 10 drop, 10 drop.
10 drop.
Birdcage!
And then I'm gonna restand 2 Dawn at the end of my turn, and I'm gonna punk Gibson you, and then I'm gonna 10 drop you again. Like I want that because like that's what people thought the deck was gonna be, right? And then it's like, I actually don't have any time to play ramp cards because I'm searching for the first 3 turns. And then they swing into my searchers and not my life, so I can't Thunder Bagua. That's ramped on, and now I'm just stuck at actually playing the game normally. You know what I mean? Like that deck was like, I think it was a lot less powerful than what people were expecting at first. But I think it's gonna be its time to shine in OP10. With just literally just 1 ramp card. I'm like, please.
One
dude,
ramp card.
1 ramp.
You know, I'm
please.
surprised we haven't talked about Usopp. Black
Oh.
Blue.
Oh, that
Usopp, yeah.
yeah. When it first got revealed, I did not think that leader was super great, but that's because they mistranslated
the
the
leaks.
second effect. Yeah, the leak mistranslated that second effect because it did not include the or if KO'd.
Mm-hmm.
That part of the text makes that leader so good. That leader saying if your character were to be removed by an effect or KO'd just makes that leader like 10, 15 times more powerful because now you just play the game, and if your opponent removes your guys in any way, shape, or form, and
You
you have
draw,
5 or less cards in your hand, you just go, okay, thanks. I replaced that guy.
basically. No,
Yeah,
it's
And
gonna
it's
be
you lost
cool.
a card. And you lost a card in your hand. And I gained one.
that too. Either they wasted a card, or they wasted Dawn swinging at your guy, and you're like, thanks, bro. I'll just draw. Like, man, yeah, I don't know. That deck seems like it's going to be really strong. And then on top of that, so a lot of people are talking about Usopp right now, and they're saying that like Rebecca might just be better. I'm going to be honest. I think Usopp is better only because 7-drop Rebecca is really, really good in that deck on the going first curve. Because you get to play Rebecca on the 7 Dawn turn and she activates. Whereas in um, Whereas in actual Rebecca deck, you cannot play 7-drop Rebecca on a 7-drop turn and get the effect because you need to have an 8-drop in play. Um, and in Usopp, it gives all your Dressrosa characters +1 cost.
Ah,
So
that's
you're
true.
allowed to play the 7-drop Rebecca, and she's an 8-drop, and you get the effect immediately
Hmm.
on the 7 Dawn turn, which
Other
is
point
huge.
towards Usopp. He can attack.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's
Being
fair.
able to attack is
Swing.
insane.
He can swing.
I know some people are making the argument that like Rebecca has 5 life, and it's like, look, man, I will take 1 less life to be able to attack every single turn. I would
Yes.
like to take a card out of my opponent's hand every single turn, even if it's just swinging 5K, man. I know I'm doing something with my leader.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's like you're gonna be playing stage. You're gonna play the Dressrosa stage. Who knows if they make a new one? Maybe they'll make a new one too. I don't know.
Oh.
Um, they could make a new Dressrosa stage. What if they make a new? Damn. Maybe that would make Rebecca like a little bit better if they made like a Dressrosa stage, just like a 1-drop stage, kind of like
For
the
redemption.
Thousand Sunny, the from the structure deck.
Oh.
All your Dressrosa characters get +1
What
cost.
if it's the because it's Corridor
Wow.
Coliseum, right? What if it's like the Field of Sunflowers or something like that, or like the factory,
Ooh,
That'd be
that'd be
so
pretty
or like the
Your
Tontata
smart.
leader's
Village?
Rebecca.
If your leader
This
is
man's a
Usopp,
genius.
your
Oh
characters
damn! You
get,
think they'd
yeah,
leader lock the stage?
probably.
Have they
Yeah.
learned their lesson with stages? Leader
I think
locked?
so.
Well,
Leader
NA's lobby
locked in
is leader
stage.
locked. So is Navy HQ, which is only Navy
And
That's
leaders.
true. That's true. So then probably yeah. But
Whitebeard
would they
stages
now
for
now
Whitebeard
would they
pirates.
leader lock it to Usopp, or would they leader lock it to Dressrosa?
Uh,
Dressrosa.
I
I
mean,
think Dressrosa
yeah,
I think it
because
depends, right?
because
If you
I
do the
think
Tontada Usopp right, and then if you do like the Field of Flower or Sunflowers right, if Rebecca, you could do it that way just for lore reasons, and it would be cool. But
yeah,
realistically, you should just make it
I feel like
Dressrosa
because
because
it's
like
Usopp,
you
there's
need the
gonna be a
support.
focus of Tontadas and stuff.
yeah,
I feel like.
probably
So
it'll
Yeah,
it's
be
because
the
probably gonna be
Leo.
like Tontata Village, and like, hey, your Tontadas get
yeah.
like plus 1,000 power or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Usopp is better. Fight me. I think it's the better leader.
I think it's better too. I'm excited
Rebecca's
to try it out.
cool. Rebecca's cool, but being able to attack and being able to play that 7-drop Rebecca on an odd curve is monumental. It's huge.
Yeah.
I think that that is going to be like such a huge shakeup for sure. And if I can just imagine a Rebecca player like getting put on the first curve and then they can't play that 7-drop Rebecca.
That
And yeah, you've got a bunch of other plays, but like you're not even gonna be able to play that 7-drop Rebecca on your next turn anyways. Because even if you drop it on the 9 Dawn turn, you're not getting the effect because you didn't play an 8-drop yet.
yeah, you need to play an 8
You
drop.
don't get to play the you don't get to play 7-drop Rebecca until your 10 Dawn turn,
Hey,
more
is
than
Gecko gonna
likely.
be in a format by then? Hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's my point is like I just think that 7-drop Rebecca card doesn't even work in Rebecca
No.
because you have to wait until your damn 10 Dawn turn to be able to play the damn card. Because you have to play an 8-drop before you even play it.
That settles
Uh,
it. There is going to be a Dressrosa stage that buffs your characters by 1
that's what
point.
I'm thinking, right? There has to
It has
be.
to be.
There
Has
has
to
to
be
be.
because there's no way you print Rebecca with like very limited like if any 8 cost Dressrosa characters.
Yeah.
Are there any?
Yeah, right. 'Cause,
Maybe like
like-
a vanilla or something. I don't know that I'm missing here, but
You know,
Maybe,
I do
but
want to.
like,
Go ahead.
I don't know. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I want to mention like the recent design philosophies that I've been seeing. Because with the release of the new Black Luffy structure deck, and then Black
Mhm.
Purple Luffy in OP09, and
Oh, yeah.
now in OP10, you have a lot of leaders that raise the costs of their characters, right? That are in
Yeah.
black. Again, the
Yeah.
same sentiment that I've always said: black is the best counter to black, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Are they? Do you think they're trying to shift away from this whole like, all right, we know black is strong, therefore we are doing this thing where we're just gonna raise the cost of everyone's characters by 1 to 2, so it's a little bit harder for black to remove stuff, right?
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean,
'Cause-
you notice that as well with like 7-drop Jack, right? The
Uh-huh.
+4.
Yeah,
The +4 is huge.
+4 is huge.
I think cards like that are prime examples of like them definitely moving in a direction of trying to steer away from, or I guess like not trying to steer away from like everyone's characters getting removed constantly.
Yeah. Does
But I
that mean
think just
Gecko's
more-
gonna be gone?
What? I don't
Yeah.
I
know.
hope so.
Because this Rebecca is basically Gecko for Dressrosa, but it's like off from hand,
It
not
is.
from trash, and you're
It's so
developing
fair.
3
Its
bodies.
new name is Rebecca.
Oh.
Rebecca Moria.
Rebecca Moria.
Rebecca Dress Moria. All right. With that, though, it's been an hour and 15, right? I think we
All
should
right.
start to call it there. Wow, great conversation, guys. Like, there's a lot of stuff
Oh,
to look
yeah.
forward to. What is it, 2 weeks from now? It's like, what? It's going to
2
be
weeks
like
from now is the
before the
structure decks.
regionals. Yeah, the structure decks are going to be out.
Yeah,
right?
we have like 3.5 weeks until regionals or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, one.
So I think we know
Yeah,
what we're going to talk about. What are we going to be playing?
And then like a half week. Yeah,
Yeah.
got like a little less than a month until the regional at this point.
Yeah. With
Uh,
that though, you know, exciting stuff. We'll see what happens with Daffy and shit. It's probably gonna be just Daffy, Lucci, Pluffy, and Bonnie, and BY Luffy as well. Meta, like those 5 decks are probably gonna be meta here when
I think so.
8.5 comes
Yoki
out.
deserves his time in the
Yes,
sun,
he does.
baby.
Yes, he does.
He deserves
He
it.
Now-
needs a blue deck that needs to be meta.
Now, to be fair, I will preface this one more time before we leave and before we cut this off. It will be those decks, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in a new meta where law does not exist in this OP 8.5 meta, and I think there was so many decks that were gate kept by him, and that Daffy and Purple Luffy and Lucci and Black Yellow Luffy, they were like the kind of decks that could still play in the format even when RP Law existed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think now that RP Law doesn't exist, a lot of decks are definitely going to throw people for a loop. And I think even though that these other decks are getting way more powerful because of these structure decks, I still think the meta is going to be diverse.
Yeah.
I still think so.
For
I
sure.
pray that those decks that Richard's talking about dodge all the Luchis at regionals, because that deck also gatekeeps a lot
They
of
gotta
shit.
dodge
I
me?
can't lie.
It does
I
gatekeep.
can't lie. That Lucci also gatekeeps a lot. Or should I say
Shark in
just
the water,
Gecko?
dude.
Just
Yeah.
Gecko.
8-drop Gecko is the gatekeeper of the format.
Yeah.
500.
All right.
But yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for your
All right.
time. Great conversation.
God.
We'll see y'all
Bye.
later.
All right.
Take care.